Bitcoin is looking very strong in every single respect. If we start on the 4-hour chart, we have found good support above the upper bearish blue line. And this in turn is a prime example of how an underlying behaves when trending strongly. And the strong momentum in Bitcoin can first and foremost be confirmed by the fact that it literally just sailed through this key support and resistance zone between $40,500 and $42,500. For as we can see if we zoom out to the daily chart, this zone has acted as significant support and resistance up on every test except one. For each time the price has bounced aggressively back in whatever direction from whence it came. We're talking minus 30%, minus 23, minus 28, minus 12, plus 70 and plus 25. The only exception was the May plunge last year, during which Bitcoin had enough momentum to push through on the very first try. Now we've seen the same thing once again, which goes on to prove the bullish momentum that was released amidst this long and overstretched rubber band. Now, our ABCDE triangle thesis is still more valid than ever. And as long as the C-wave bottom at around $33,000 holds up, we have no real need for worry, although a break below and a close below $40,000 would not be good news on its own, not at all. But more on that if or when we were to get there, because Bitcoin's momentum at the moment is way too strong to ignore. At the moment, we have, not unsurprisingly, found resistance at this red horizontal zone. Now, there are no major surprises here, and given that we've so far seen a minor ABC, the main question now remains whether this is the entire A wave of the D wave, or if it's in fact the A wave of the A wave of the D wave. It all comes down to how Bitcoin behaves from now on, so we'll leave it at that for now. Although with that said, do not be surprised if Bitcoin were to make a slow ABC move down to this green support box before being ready to take off up again. One ideal scenario moving on would be if we were to see a slow and controlled price correction going down to the green support zone below. TA author and legend Martin J. Pring talks about how a distinguished trend tends to move impulsively, like here, after which the correction in turn takes 2 to 3 times as long to complete. And this is also why such turn-off events like a slow decline down to the green zone would go on to confirm the short-term momentum of this prospect D-wave. But not only that, it would also prove sustainability for further and controlled upside. An equally strong scenario though would be if we were to sail through this strong resistance zone before completing the B wave of the D wave. This would likely then confirm that we're in for an ascending ABCDE triangle. In such case, we'd expect to initiate the B wave of the D wave somewhere at or between these two resistance lines. One thing that truly confirms a sustained upside from here, whether it were to take the shape of going down and up, or whether it were to just continue up from here, is the fact that we recently, on January 25th, saw a lower bullish red closing on the 8-hour chart, right from this level here at around $36,000. The statistical pivot top for such signal on such time frame as the 8-hour chart should be at least in the 50% range, if not more. And a 50% price increase from this starting level right here would end up leaving us in this horizontal resistance zone at around $51,000 to $53,000. And even more beautiful is the characteristic fourth wave lower bullish red touch on the weekly chart, on which we saw the RSI hover down from higher levels, which it only does for a bounce in fourth wave corrections, mind you. And as we've already figured out that this 1 year long move is a likely fourth wave correction, this move, the lower bullish red closing, simply confirms our thesis. Now, whenever the D wave is over with, however it chooses to materialize, we should expect a retracement to the 0.5 or 618 fib level. In this sense, if or when we were to get any topish confirmation that the D wave is over with, however that may materialize, I will seriously consider selling off parts or big chunks of my holdings in order to buy it back at a grossly rebated price later on. For in such case, we could easily be talking price declines in the $12,000 to $15,000 range before being ready to leave this godforsaken fourth wave and move on to the fifth wave of the secular fifth. If we take a zoomed in look at this very moment, this here on the 4-hour chart, we can tell that this price development could either be the early stages of a rising wedge, or it could simply be an ascending channel, both of which are bearish in nature. Yet the one thing holding such argument back is the fact that the RSI on the 4-hour remains steadily above the upper bearish blue line. This is, as anyone knows who's watched the extensive RSI trilogy, a sign of inherent and trending strength. Simply put, continuous RSI action above the upper bearish blue is what we commonly refer to as a bullish motorway. And this, my friend, is the last place on earth where you want to step in front of the bullish momentum train and go short. The situation would, however, have been entirely different had the RSI dropped down towards the green neutral 50, upon which it then struggled to break above the upper bearish blue. Same price action, but a different RSI behavior. Such case as this one would have paved the way for further downside, as an eventual upper bearish blue closing would be near impossible to avoid. And given that we're dealing with the 4-hour chart here, an RSI signal would, statistically speaking, propel the price at least 25% in either direction. And a 25% move on the downside for Bitcoin from these current levels would spell minor disaster. For this reason, I absolutely love the technical structure of this price development right here. To me, based on the RSI alone, this here rather paves the way for a steep price movement to follow, meaning that this little U-shaped formation here could have been just a tiny baby price correction to underline the strong bullish momentum. If we can break above this zone, the red zone, then don't be surprised if Bitcoin were to begin its ascent towards the $51,000 to $53,000 resistance zone to complete the A wave of the D wave at any time soon. At the moment, however, we have seen a lot of wick action in this zone between $45,000 and $46,000, and unless we can recover this in the short term, chances are instead that we're in for a little ABC correction down to the green support zone. It is at the $51,000 to $53,000 resistance zone and above that we'll enter the high risk zone. But just because there's a high likelihood of this here being the D wave of a major ABCDE triangle correction, there are no guarantees whatsoever. The major risk with any move up to this zone or anywhere in between is that if the price were to reverse down and then continue down until the point where we take out the low of the C wave, it would disqualify the ABCDE triangle and replace it with a nasty WXY, at which we could be easily looking at prices in the low 20,000s. With that said, I don't necessarily deem a WXY to be too likely, and the reason for that is that very few people in general are aware of the ABCDE prospect to begin with. With that said, for these reasons, I will proceed with caution if or when we were to reach the $51,000 to $53,000 resistance zone. Whether we get there slowly and in a controlled fashion, or if we just proceed up effortlessly from here, because once we reach this area or above, we need to see how the technical map develops. If it continues to look strong, then chances are that the ABCDE triangle is the case in play. If not, however, and we're primarily talking about the RSI warnings in the shape of upper bearish blue closings here, then we'll heed to the warning and step aside scot-free and with good profits secured. Ladies and gentlemen, we are gonna be in for some very interesting and predominantly bullish times ahead, as long as the $40,000 level can hold up for now.